This week's episode is sponsored by Helio Gas Detection.
Hey everybody, this is Rich from the Metal Cell podcast of Shannon Bowman with me of Studio 23. She's about to tell us about the studio and what made her jump into something like this. So tell us about yourself first anyway, Shannon.
So I've kind of been in the metal scene for the past 7-8 years-ish around the country, but grew up in like punk music and stuff because my dad was in the the hardcore punk scene in Ohio in the 90s.
Class, okay.
And he had like a small house recording studio, so grew up around that. It was nice.
So you had access to all that type of music.
Yeah. So literally grew up listening to like Descendants, Rancid, all that kind of stuff.
Great.
And then a little bit of new metal because of my aunts and uncles. So.
And like, what was your access to, we'll say, guitars and stuff like that? Had Jenny access to it at the time?
Oh yeah. He's always had instruments around the house. Like
Okay.
he had an old PV bass, he had acoustic guitars. For a while he had electric guitars. So it was like,
So you were just...
I think, yeah. They bought me like a really, really cheap digital keyboard when I was like 5. Okay. So I've been like messing around with piano.
That was
since
probably
I was 5.
a great idea at the time, like for 5-year-old. Jesus, cool.
Yeah. He wanted me to be a musician, so he was like, "Here's a piano. You won't learn guitar because your fingers are too weak, but here's a piano."
Oh, brilliant! So, growing up in America, then what was that like?
To be honest, I was actually homeschooled, so I don't know really what it was like until I was a teenager.
Really? Okay, that's unusual.
Yeah. Because I had gone to the public schooling system, but they didn't know what autism really was in that area at the time. So like they were trying to like put me into like this kindergarten and a half thing where like you're not ready to go to first grade because you're too like out of it and whatever. But it was actually that I already knew how to read and they were teaching the alphabet. Oh. so I was just bored.
Okay.
But so then kind of just stayed at home. The only experience I really have is with how fucking religious it is over there.
Yeah,
like
Ohio, of course, yeah.
Like the church we were going to when I was younger was like, women have to wear skirts down to their ankles. If they wear pants, it's a sin, kind of.
Yeah.
So
like I've been around Pennsylvania quite a few times, the Amish community and stuff. Like it's just so vast and so different in just certain areas. You really need to experience it for yourself to go over there, you know.
Yeah. So, like even my dad's side of the family are German Baptist, which is basically Amish, but you can drive a car.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah. Jesus,
so
mad. So what got you over here to Ireland?
My dad was a drug addiction therapist, and there was a massive need for it, like 13 years ago.
What?
So he came over here to help somebody.
That's incredible.
Just because the rest of us were like kids. I think I was the oldest at 15 at the time. So it was like, right, we're all moving over there.
The whole family moved?
Yeah. Well, my mum and dad and my siblings.
Okay. Okay, to where?
North Cork. So we've been in Cork the entire time. Yeah.
That is just crazy. Yeah. What a culture shock though. Like, how did you cope initially?
Actually, since it was rural Cork, it was pretty much the same. It was all Christian, it was all farmers. Like, I grew up working on farms and things. So I was like, oh, this is grand. Yeah. Just go work with a guy that I can't understand a word he says.
That is mental. And, you know, then just kind of, were you trying to figure out the Cork scene, or had you any idea of what to kind of look for in relation to what would satisfy you musically wise? Or? So you were around 15, 16 at this stage?
Yeah. So it wasn't until after I finished secondary school that I was like starting to look for a band. And it was actually Dara from Horrenda who got me into the scene. Yeah.
So I knew there'd be a Dara connection. Very good, yeah.
That's why every time I'm on your show, it's always with Dara.
Yes, of course. But how did you meet Dara? Like, he's up in Dublin.
It was Horrenda were looking for a new guitarist at the time. And I was like, I've kind of been doing black metal band. So I just sent a message saying, hey, where are you based? He was like, oh, shit, we're in Dublin. If you're in Cork, that's probably not going to work. That's a lot of travel. And I was like, oh, shit, well, I still need people to work with. I like your music. So if you want to just like work on something. So when we did the first Zero Pulse EP, I think it was, he was like, yeah, I'll play guitar on it. Grand, cool.
Okay. So that's, yeah.
So we
good.
worked together with that.
When was that, Shannon? That was obviously before COVID.
Yeah, 2016.
Oh, wow, that's a good bit back then.
Yeah. Or 2016 is when the album came out. I think we met in like late 2015.
Yeah, so like we'll say when you were going up then to gigs in Dublin, you obviously then were hooking up and having the chats and beers and figuring out stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to take over the world through black metal.
It's very hard going with black metal specifically. I think it would be easier if we were pop artists.
Maybe so. So formal training then in we'll say sound engineering, was that always in the back of your mind?
It actually wasn't really,
was
because it was something that like
figure out yourself.
Yeah, it was kind of like something my dad did for like just basically as a hobby, but he knew enough that kind of when I got into music, he was able to give me advice and stuff, kind of get me on the right track. From there, it was all like YouTube education stuff and trial and error, talking to sound engineers. And then when I finished my bachelor's degree, the final semester, I think, we had a module in the School of Music with Keith Clancy and Hugh McCarthy, who run a master's degree over there. And they were like, look, if you've been doing this for 7 years at this point, like the stuff you produced for our module is professional. It's like $3,000 for the masters for a year. Why don't you just do it so you have a paper that says you're a sound engineer? I was like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
So I did it and just finished that got my cert in October.
Wow, congratulations.
And I did the science one then, so I can say I'm a scientist.
Bit of sadist. Again, that can't be easy funding that yourself.
Luckily, Susie paid for part of it, and then I've got a weekend job, so it was like
still
grand. Yeah, I was able to kind of hobble my way through it.
I'm just going to bring you back maybe to COVID as well, because I know you were doing a lot of work. Musically wise, even a Shirey. Talk to us about that. How much of an influence did that have on you working with other musicians that normally that wouldn't come into your kind of scope?
Actually, it was pretty much the network that I kind of had already.
Yeah.
So that was kind of easy, and I just like with Horrenda and Aborted Earth, anything I had done with them in the past was always remote.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, okay, Shannon's actually the one who understands how to work like this. So, but it was like, good, somebody who understands remote work.
Yes.
Because everybody else was all in-person studios
of course,
around the country. I think there was studios in Galway, Belfast, Dublin.
There was, yeah.
So I was the only one who had specifically been working exclusively online up to that point. So they were like, okay, good.
Yeah. So I suppose it was then the natural progression was to find a studio and set it up yourself. I mean, what was your home studio like, first of all? Had you collected a lot of stuff?
Not really. That was all. It was purely digital work.
Okay.
So it was just, I had a good computer that I had bought back in, I think right after lockdown when I moved to the city. It was like, okay, the computer I've got is a piece of shit. I need a better one.
Yeah.
So I got that.
What was it actually?
It was like a fucking...
No, the one that...
Oh, the one that I built. Yeah. It was a custom build from PC Maestro in City Centre.
Okay, so you did that yourself as well?
Well, I had them build it, but I give them specs. Yeah.
So and you had no issues then after that?
Oh, no, it worked perfectly. Yeah.
And when was that, did you say?
2021-ish.
Okay.
Summer of 2021.
So that was a big investment for you, obviously.
Yeah, at the time it was like still in college. I was working 2 jobs and a bachelor's degree. So it was like, at least Susie's covering the college because I don't have the money for that and a computer. And then I just had guitars that I had collected over time.
Yes.
So it was guitars, little 2-channel interface, and just my computer with all the software I'd kind of gathered over time.
Yeah.
My dad had a Reaper license, so I was borrowing that from him.
I know Reaper licenses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So finding this place in Shandon Street, how'd you come by?
So it was actually John from Bunker Vinyl used to have a studio in the record shop, and he was like, that studio had closed down when the sound engineer moved to join, what was the game studio? Junkfish. British game studio. Yeah. So she had moved country to go there, and John was like, okay, well, no studio anymore. And then when I finished my master's, he was like, Shannon, you're a sound engineer. Do you want your own studio? We'll go find a place. Because he was like, I want somewhere to do hobby music.
Okay.
But I can't justify just having a space that I rent out.
Yeah.
So I will help you set up a studio in exchange for basically getting to use the space whenever I want. And I was like, yeah, that's a brilliant deal.
Yeah.
So.
And finding this place?
It was actually one of his housemates was part of a group that had just been kicked out of here. So the guy was like not in a good mood about it. And he was like, yeah, but is the space available? And he was like, well, yeah, they need to fill it. So he was like, okay. So he went around to a couple artists and was like, hey, there's this space. If we go in on it and fix the place up a bit.
Yeah.
So I was given kind of this corner of the building because I think I was the first person approached about it. And I was like, that corner there is perfect because there's like the cold storage for the bakery is back there in the corner. Right. I'll show you later. Yeah. And it was like this is a really cool corner of the building. It's actually structurally sound and everything. There's not much repair needing done. Right. Just about a year's or 6 months worth of cleaning. So yeah. And then the challenges were what really? Tidying, getting rid of junk more. Okay. The biggest one was trying to get all because this space was storage for furniture that had been collected, and the guy had no space to put it. So it was kind of trying to find where to put that until he could get rid of it. Yeah. And then myself, John, and my brother were in here like every day for about 6 months after it was cleaned. And just building the walls to separate that out, putting up the false ceiling, hanging curtains, laying down carpet. Yeah. Kind of, my dad did the electrics in here. Yeah. So where would you say in relation to it being finished? Are you 95% there? Right now? No, it's 100. It's 100. Yeah. Okay. We've even got like a box to put microphones into the wall. Like. Okay, I see. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And what gear did you bring yourself and what needed to be bought? It was kind of the computer and stuff like that I brought. Yeah. And then obviously I'm keeping my own guitars here in case somebody needs a different sound, or brought my own any amps I had or anything. Yeah. And then everything else was kind of sourced as cheap as we could get it. Yeah. Scouring through adverts and... the sound desk, there's something interesting about the sound desk as well, isn't there? Which one? There's like 3 sound desks. The main one. In the main one in there. Yeah. That one, it was actually from, I think, a studio in Waterford or Wexford or something that had closed down. Okay. And the guy was like, look, I'll give it to you dirt cheap and I'll give you this synthesizer with it. I just need it out of my house. I don't have any storage space. Okay. I'm retiring. Yeah. All I want is my little 16-channel interface and my computer and a guitar. Yeah. He was like, I don't need anything else. So take all this stuff for like a really low price. We were like, yes. Yeah, that's great wins. And also I just want to talk about the piano you got as well. Yeah. So that was actually from a friend who was getting rid of it, and it's around 120 years old. Like, company went defunct 90 years ago, so like it can't be any younger than that. And she was just like, look, my parents are getting a couch in, we don't have space for the piano. Do you know anybody that wants it? And I was like, I'm actually looking for an upright piano. And she was like, well, if you can get somebody to take it away for you, take it away. Happy days. Yeah. Jesus Christ. So styles of music that you want to record in here? Everything and anything, yeah. Literally, yeah. Especially the weirder stuff. Yes. Because like... in other words, Irish country music. No. No. I hope you draw the line at that. No, that is the worst form of country. It is. Yeah. If Coulter Wall wants to come in here, if for some reason you're watching this, here. But everything and anything. Yeah. So far there's been like, I had a dream pop band in who were for some reason playing a black metal song when they were in here. Nice. And then I've had I've had indie artists. I had a folk artist in. In that time, I've been like doing a remix for a metal band from an album they recorded 15 years ago.
Wow.
So I'm kind of working with as much stuff as possible.
Yeah.
I've got DJs and things that want to come in here to record live sets and stuff like that.
Great. Okay. So it's
Literally, if it's electronic, if it's folk, if it's metal, I don't care. I enjoy everything.
Yeah.
Except Irish country.
Yeah, we've established that. Can you describe your workflow when mixing tracks?
So, the mixing actually for me is secondary. It's mostly about the recording and trying to not convince. What's the word for it? Kind of pull the best performance out of a musician. I think the performance and the mic choice, mic placement, that's way more important than mixing.
Yeah.
And then production, because the mixing should just sound good from the recording.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get as much analog as possible, and then afterwards I go in and add like a little bit of the mix and digital production and stuff like that. Adding in maybe synths and things like that afterwards if it's needed.
Yeah. Of course, it's early days yet. Like you're definitely going to get challenging people coming in the door as well. Yeah. So it's how you deal with that. Sure, I mean. Yeah. But plenty of charm anyway. Shannon always helps. So we'll say if you could fast forward 5 years' time, what do you think Studio 23 will look? Hopefully for you, if you had.
If everything goes to plan, in 5 years I should be
retired.
No, I'm not quitting this. Even when I do retire, I'm still going to be running a studio.
Good for you. Yeah.
But so ideally in 5 years I'll be in a bigger location.
Okay.
This first 5 years.
So this is a stepping stone.
Yeah. This is kind of. It's a really nice first studio. It's a lot bigger than any of the sound engineers I've talked to.
Okay.
But like, I've got a specific building that I can access the blueprints to and everything that I was in, actually broke into in 2019, and now it's where I work on the weekends. But at the time it was an abandoned building. And it was like the acoustics of the space were perfect.
Right.
So like that's like my 15-year goal is to build that one, but it's such a big building that it's I think for actually in the Masters I did a budgeting project. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to see how much would it cost to build that space. It wound up being like 5 mil.
Whoa, So
that's like my 15-year goal. Is to put every cent aside I can over the next 15 years to get that.
Okay.
But in 5 years, I want to have at least just like a bungalow-sized building that's separate from everything else, kind of just out past the edge of the city.
Okay.
That I can just have a couple different rooms in. So like one for live recording, one for standard like instrument by instrument recording, and then another one for video and photography. Glad you brought up. What about live recording here if a band wants to set up live? That's actually what I've been doing most of the time for the bands that have been in so far.
Right, good.
Is because like the room is absolutely
huge.
Dead. There is
it's
no
big as well. You've plenty of space.
Yeah, there is no sound bleed. Like when I had that Dream Pop band in, they had the volume up so high that the walls were shaking. And I had to wear headphones in the control room. But the amps were actually right here where we're sitting.
Okay.
And the drum kit is there.
Yeah.
And the bass is in the corner. I just stuck baffles between them.
Right.
And since there's no real sound bouncing off the walls, like there was a tiny little bleed from every instrument, but it was so much that when I soloed out an instrument, they went, I can't hear... Are you sure we didn't track this one instrument at a time? Like, I can't hear... Oh, wait, no, there's the drums.
No.
Like, they were actually shocked, like, which means that even with live recordings, I'm able to still edit things and produce it as if it's track by track, but you get that live energy, you get the kind of the flow of a live track. You don't have to play to a click or anything because everybody just follows the drummer or whatever.
Brilliant. Very good. So how will people find you, Shannon? You've set up socials for Studio 23.
So it's at Studio 23 Cork on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and our email is studio23cork@gmail.
And what's the significance of 23?
The area code here is T23.
Perfect. It's a good number as well, actually.
Because me and John were spitballing ideas for names, and it was like,
I'd like to
what about
T23? What was the craziest one you came up with, by the way?
I don't remember actually. That was ages ago. That was about a year ago.
Okay, fair enough.
But he was like, "What about Studio 23s?" He was like, "I was talking to a friend as well, and that one came up." And I was like, "What about just Studio 23 instead of T23 Studio. And he was like, ooh, that rolls off the tongue a lot better. I like that.
Yeah.
So we stuck with it.
Yeah, brilliant.
Made up the logo like the next day.
Yeah. So that's great, Shannon. Best of luck with it. And for those that are watching and listening, please give Shannon a bell and you'd gladly look after him.
Yeah.
Best of luck with the project. Well done.
Thanks.